Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, The Magical Solution. My name is Leilani, and we are here together once again for our book club. Today is Monday night, although the book club normally is held on Tuesday nights. However, it is the summertime, which means my band that I am the lead singer of has a lot of gigs, and so we're out here doing gigs, and our rehearsal time is always usually Tuesday nights. So as far as the book club goes, it's just going to be whenever I can post it during the week. But I'll always try and post during the week, and I'll always try and post either 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, one or the other. Anyway, I'm seeing people starting to roll in. I'm seeing people um starting to leave comments. So, yeah, if you are, someone who's been following the Magical Solution for a while, um definitely, you know, leave a comment, let us know where you're watching from. I would love to see you guys out there doing your thing. All right, let me just move this piece here really quick. That's weird. Okay. All right. So for those of you who are on TikTok, first of all, thank you so much. Blessings, Aoife. Oh my God. Hello, hello, my goddess. Mwah. If you do not know who Aoife Abeyo is, please go give her a follow. She is one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world. Big energy, beautiful energy, fun energy, goddess energy, and her lives and her content and everything will just inspire you and make you feel wonderful. So definitely go give her a follow. Not that I need to promote you, bitch. You got like a gazillion more followers than I do, bitch. You doing just fine, bitch. You doing just fine, okay? but but yeah, so tonight is book club night. We are moving forward with the book that we have been kind of chopping away at. We're on chapter 5. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, do not feel like you have to start all the way from the beginning to kind of, hang out with us. It's not like that at all. So, basically, how this works is I will read for about 45 minutes solid. And in that 45 minutes, I will be breaking down what I'm reading. I will be talking to you while I'm reading. I'll be giving you real life practical examples of what it is that we're reading so that you really have an understanding of what it is that we're talking about and what it is that we are going over. And then I open it up. The last 15 minutes, I open it up to conversation, to questions, and things like that. So, don't feel the need to, have to start all the way from the beginning. Although I do encourage you. So if you would like to go to my YouTube channel at The Magical Solution, there you will find all the books that we have been reading and obviously all the new books that we will be coming up to start reading. But you'll also see interviews that I've had with authors and influencers and really just amazing, elders and teachers in the spiritual community. Which, by the way, speaking of that, the interviewing show, which is called This Is How We Grow, will be relaunching in July. I'm getting my list together, and I'm very excited to be interviewing a lot of the people that are going to be coming up. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Another important thing you must do, you guys, is sign up for my email list. In my email list is notifications of what's happening, who we're going to be interviewing, blog posts that I've written, coupons and discounts, new merch designs, etc., etc. So definitely sign up for that email because I give certain promotions to my email subscribers that I do not give to the public. So if you're not already on my list, get on it. But yeah, those of you who are on TikTok, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. But if you want to read along with me, if you want to actually see the text on the screen, I highly suggest that you either go to my Instagram or you go to YouTube or you go to my Facebook at The Magical Solution. All of those places will also have the text so that you can read along with me. All right, enough of this jibber jabber. Let's get to it. Let me screen share Hold on, hold on. Let me screen share. Ay, Dios mío, what happened? It must have left. It did, it left. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see how I'm going to do this. So we're going to do it like this. And then we're going to put the thing on the thing. Here it is. Boom. Boom. We did it. We did it. Can you guys see that? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can see it. Those of you who are on TikTok, go over to either Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube if you want to see the text at the Magical Solution, and give me a thumbs up if you could see it. Let me check Instagram, make sure Instagram, let me know. Okay. All right. Here we go. So we are on chapter 5, book 3. Okay. Mind as a motive and a moral power. Man is the masterpiece of creation, lord of the kingdoms of life and activity, an epitome of all forms and structures, a microcosm of all nature in its broadest sense. You know what? That sentence is really loaded. Take a minute and just kind of take that in. So many people are so quick to just read things quickly and not get through it. Take that sentence in for a minute. Specifically while I take a sip of my water. All right. Good. You feeling that? Do you feel that? Hopefully that feels good to read that sentence. And I say that both in a condescending way and in a literal way, because you should feel good about this sentence saying that you are a masterpiece of creation, lord of the kingdoms of life and activity, an epitome of all forms of structures, a microcosm of all of nature in its broadest sense. Hell yeah, you should be so proud of being described in that way. But in the condescending way in which I meant it is also that we also need to be careful how we tread in conversation like this, because when we have religions that are very uh humanoid centric, if you will, meaning that man is the top of the species, top of the food chain, top of everything, and all else is like background matter to them. We are treading on dangerous territory there when we start to lose sight of the spirit and the divinity of all of the things that are around us, all the people and all of nature, because we've put ourselves on this pedestal, is a problem. So yes, be proud of the truth that is that, but on some Kendrick, stay humble, right? Let's move on. So he is the focal concentration and sublimated condensation of all powers and principles in the organism of the objective world. It is therefore true that, in his physical and mental constitution, he is the source of great motive, power, and supremacy. Standing upon the utmost round of the visible creation, a connecting link between the material and spiritual, mind is the master of all below and a prophecy of much that is above. Woo! That sentence is fire. Mind is the master of all below and a prophecy of much that is above. Sexy. Let's keep it moving. He is destined to put under his feet all enemies, understood as barriers to human progress and happiness. Ain't that the truth? I think a lot of y'all need to hear this today. Let's put it into reality. This is a prayer right here. Ready? Ready? He is destined to put under his feet all enemies, understanding as barriers understood as barriers to human progress and happiness. Your enemies are your barrier to your human progress and happiness. May they be destined to be put under your feet. I love that. I love that so hard. I'm in a good mood tonight, in case you guys haven't noticed. If I could take just a moment to talk about something personal with you guys. My dad had to go back into surgery, a second surgery, pretty much back to back, and he only been out from his other surgery for maybe 2 weeks. And the matter is serious. The matter is definitely life or death. But he made it. I got the phone call about an hour and a half ago. He made it through the surgery. He's recovering well. He's doing his thing. And I swear, my dad just be peeling off life years from all of us because we worry about him so much. But he's doing good. And so I'm in a great mood tonight. Just wanted to share that. Getting back to the reading. Let's get back to the reading, y'all. So, science is replete with evidence of the superiority of the human mind over the gross materials of nature. Man is governor, director, and lord of all subordinate creations because he is the most perfect combination of all essences in lower departments and kingdoms, which we've already talked about in the previous chapter, right? He's not just he's not a perfect combination. He is the sum of. He is the combination of all of these lower kingdoms. So mineral, animal, like all of these lower kingdoms, he's comprised of that. Where it becomes a religious idea and where it becomes a supremacy idea is when we believe that composition is perfect. And as we've already seen, that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? What is perfect to us in a specific situation would be like us. It would just imagine living in the world of an octopus. You can't imagine living in the world of a fucking octopus. That is not your nature. And that, from a perceptual observational standpoint, that might seem like a lesser form, but bitch, go and live in their lifestyle and see if that's a lesser form. It's not lesser, it's just a different set of skills. And you are not a perfect combination of the mastery of all these lower realms if you haven't perfected those lower realms. Haha. And this, I'll say this from an occult standpoint and from a spiritual and magical standpoint. When you are looking for elders, when you're looking for teachers, these are also things you need to be looking for. If you're looking to get magic done, some love work done, and you go to get that love work, you hire someone to do that love work, but that person that you hired is always single, always from jumping from one relationship to the other, always having drama in their relationships, always, then what are you getting from them? What are you getting from them? They need to, in order to say that you are a thing, that must mean you have mastered the components of those things, of that thing. Does that make sense? And so, when it comes to these spiritualities and stuff like that, just be mindful, just be cautious, try and remain humble when you're being what I like to call love bombed, but like in a spiritual sense, when you're being spirit bombed with all this wonderful goodness. Oh, you're the chosen one, you're God incarnate, you're a perfect species, you are the Lord of all of creation, you are the epitome of nature because you have consciousness and you can just be mindful of that, right? Just be mindful. But we'll continue to read. Right? I'm not throwing judgment out there. This is definitely coming from that place because this is highly, highly influenced by Christian ideology. Let's not forget when this was written. This was written in the 1800s. It was written, in America. It was written, alongside a lot of the ideas that still centered man as top species, top dog. He has the power to ascend higher and higher in the scale of knowledge. For he possesses the concentrated qualities and properties of motion, life, sensation, and intelligence. When mental cultivation and intellectual philosophy become universal, it will be discovered that there is a very intimate and sympathetic connection between the sciences of the mind and its moral attitudes. So this is where we start to see the beginning sort of precepts to the codices that will eventually become spiritualism, spiritism, and espiritismo. This idea of the connection between mind and morality, the idea between intellect and morals, and how both of these things need to progress and elevate in conjunction in order to attain that perfection of manhood that we seek so much. Man's external and internal conditions are so inseparably connected that by improving the one, he improves also the other. And that knowledge, which gives him almost unlimited control over the elements of nature, will yet inform him concerning his more interior and moral powers, thus leading him directly to true theology and religion. So here we go. Here is the chunk statement right here. Boom. That's the chunk right there. Your external and internal conditions are inseparable. They must be, they will affect one another in one direction or the other, or in conjunction with each other, meaning that they will either rise together or fall together. But either way, they are going to impact each other. And so, by improving either an external stimuli or an internal stimuli, just by sheer consequence, you will improve the other. Okay. And so, one of the easiest ways to keep man, and I'm going to say this with my whole ass chest, listen to me closely. One of the easiest ways for institutions to crumble community, to crumble spiritual connection, is by putting a person in unlivable conditions. When a person has to worry about where they're going to get their next meal, they are not going to be concerned about magic and superstition and prayer and all these other things that we are asking them to do. Okay? So do not be shocked when they look at you like you got 5 heads, bitch, because they're not in the right place for that. And that is not their fault. Right? So, what this statement is saying is that if we can help improve, if bare minimum, the living conditions of somebody else, then by natural consequence, that will leave room open up in their time, in their heart, and in their mind to be just even an inkling more open to the idea that they are a spiritual being, that they are a beautiful being. And like that, that's where the work is. That's where charity comes from. Charity is not about just feeding the hungry and clothing the this and aiding the sick. Yeah, that is the gritty work. That is the hard work. That is the necessary work. That should not even be an option. That is not charity. That is our fundamental responsibility. What charity is giving of your gifts to another, and or relieving another of their external barriers that will keep them from spirit, that will keep them from contemplating their own spirit and from God, right? So, and that can come in so many different forms, bro. Like that's the thing. That's what's so beautiful about, these ideas, is that it's not landlocked. It's not in a box. You can give charity by lending an ear to somebody, by giving a ride to somebody, you know, by cleaning up their house when when they're going through a depressive meltdown, you know? That those little things save people's lives, bro, and it gives them an opportunity to sit with themselves, gives them an opportunity to sit with nature, gives them an opportunity to sit with God so they can figure out how to master their environment, so that once they've mastered their environment, they can truly start walking the path. Because that's the key. And that's why so many people say that spirituality is not meant for everybody. That's why so many people say it's okay to not be ready for spirituality, because it's true. You have to have your shit together, because these contemplations, these meditations, these spiritual deep dives do nothing but tear you up from the inside out and expose you from the inside out so that you can get closer to spirit. But if you have that exposure on top of worrying about your next meal, on top of feeding your kids, on top of clothing, you're gonna have problems, bro. You're gonna have problems. So when people close something off to you, or when people say this isn't for you, or when people say you're not ready for this, before you catch a fade and start acting out, think about it for a minute. Why would someone say that to you? Why would a spiritual person whom you came to and entrusted with your head initially, why would you turn the other cheek when all of a sudden they say something you don't want to hear? And what does that look like? You feel me? All right. Let me take a sip. I need a sip of water. I'm sorry guys. I've been doing a fruit fast today. I don't know if you guys know what that means. A fruit fast, it's like when you eat nothing but just fruits all day long. And that's sort of an easy way to sort of reset the body and to prepare for, any particular diets you want to get on or whatever. But it's just, it's a weekly fast that I like to, that we like to do. Just a fruit diet. That's all you eat. It's just fresh, raw fruits. But that shit makes you so thirsty. Oh my God. It's like your whole body is, oh man, it's crazy. Anyway, here we go. When mind is exercised upon superior planes of thought, all material forms are invested with deep and sacred meaning. All material forms are invested with deep and sacred meaning. He who feels within himself the workings of an immortal spirit can, in some measure, comprehend the kindred intelligence and love emanating from the material forms which people the world of effects. Ooh. Intelligence and love emanating from the material forms which people the world of effects. The world of effects. People the world of effects. Please understand how important this sentence is, because they're not just saying that everything around you is, invested in sacred meaning, as in like it's been given just value by God because it is a creation of God. It's not saying that at all. It's saying that everything that it comes in this creation, in this plane, has been peopled. Again, this sort of human centric, human superiority kind of language, right? So when something is spirited, it's almost equivalent as saying something has personhood. You get what I'm saying? So I really want us to be aware of the language really quick. I think that's really important. So I think this sentence should read that intelligence and love emanating from the material forms which spirited the world of effects, right? Um, and then of course the world of effects, I think, is just a beautiful way to describe this particular plane of existence, this particular frequency that we're on. Everything is causal, everything is effect, everything is a cause and effect. It's a cycle, it's a spiral. Uh, so I think that's just a beautifully written sentence. The ideal begets the actual. The ideal begets the actual. The principles of mind incarnate themselves in physical structure. But before it can display creative and disposing powers in higher regions of thought, the mind must have a broad substratum of scientific knowledge as a basis of more exalted structures. Yeah, yeah. Hence, the mission of mind as a motive power should be comprehended before considering its mission as a moral power. Woo! So again, this is the idea of mastering your environment. Mastering your environment. And the mind is the structure within the physical body that bridges the gap between physical and spiritual, in that the function of the mind, it's the motives of the mind, and the action and the power motivated behind the mind, all of that can be seen and measured by neuroscans, but can also be seen and, like, not seen and measured, but be felt in spiritual fluids, in our spiritual anatomy, if that makes sense. Okay? And so what this is saying here in this very condensed sentence is that your mind must first be motivated and be put into action regarding the physical. You have to master nature. Once you do this, then you can consider the mission of the mind as a moral power, right? So whatever the moral and spiritual plane and mission for yourself is, then you can consider attacking that. Like, that's a beautifully said sentence. When viewed in the light of harmonial philosophy, all true moral growth and wisdom are higher departments of a divine temple, resting upon the granite basis of science and extending its turrets into tranquil realms of celestial life. Physical science leads to intellectual, and the latter to moral science. Chemical analysis has led to mental analysis, and thence we derive a philosophy of the qualities and powers of man's immortal soul. By this are we directed to universal love and benevolence toward every member of the human family. So, also, a philosophy of matter supports a philosophy of mind. As a house stands upon its foundation, and a true philosophy of mind enlarges the sympathies and expands the understandings of those who control the undeveloped and unfortunately situated classes. I hope you heard that. Let's look at that sentence again. Let's look at that sentence again and let's break it down just a little bit, okay? So it says here, okay, like a house that stands upon its foundation. A true philosophy of mind enlarges the sympathies and expands the understandings of those who control the undeveloped and unfortunately situated classes. So, that is a nice idea in theory. Yes, right? We want to believe that that's the case. And unfortunately, we haven't been given the stage or the platform in which to actually see this roll out in real time. Unfortunately, all we've had is just a lot of corruption and a lot of problems within our larger systems. And so this philosophy in particular doesn't make much sense. However, when you look at it from an esoteric standpoint, when you look at it from the standpoint of spiritualism, spiritism, and espiritismo, which at this point hadn't been developed yet. Remember, when Andrew Jackson Davis wrote this, he didn't consider himself a spiritualist or this or that. He didn't even really consider himself like an intellectual or even a medium. He just did these things and said these things, right? So when we look at it from that point of view, however, we take a moment and we say to ourselves, yeah, when the mind is rested in the safety and security of the natural world, meaning when the full ass physical person has mastered their life, and not mastered as in like they're perfect, everything's great, hunky dory, best relationships, best life. No, meaning they got food on the table, they got a roof over their head, they're happy, they're content, they're living their life well, and they have enough to give and they have enough to spare. When you've mastered your material realm, and not only that, have rested in, so we've rested in the physical like nature, the second half of it, which is the mind in the spirit, right? So we have the mind in the natural world, the mind in the spirit. Now we rest in the metaphysical nature of it all, right? Where we understand we are beings of balance, where we are beings that toe that line that nature expresses, which is duality, right? We can't help that. This is the way in which nature expresses itself, is through duality, okay? And so we have to toe this line. We have to stand on this tightrope and stay balanced, master nature and yet master spirit, stay centered, move through life, etc., etc. Now, we're not looking at this again. This is not some like monk shit. We're not talking about being on a mountain and meditating 25 times a day. We're not talking about wearing robes and acting crazy. We're just simply saying having much more mindfulness, awareness, and proactive co-creative control of your fucking life that is well informed by science, math, experience, etc. Okay? When you take that with this sentence here, those two things in combination, by natural consequence and by the natures of law, it will expand your sympathies and expand your understandings of those and the systems that control the undeveloped and the unfortunately situated classes and masses. At which point, you can do something about that, because it doesn't just stop there, right? So that's what it means. It means that to truly be spiritual in this particular situation, you're not only mastering your physical environment, you're not only mastering your moral compass, but you are a fucking activist, bro. You are actively living life for your brother and sister. You are actively living in service of the grander community as a whole, just by simply existing, because you've mastered those other pieces. You don't have to try. Someone asks, you give. Someone needs, you're there. But not because you have to go out of your way, but because you are in those places at those times, because you are guided and moved by divine and natural law, because you are in accordance and in homeostasis with that. That's it. A plus B equals C, bitch. But the problem is, you know, ego. Ego. That shit takes time. That shit takes lifetimes. And people just don't want to admit, like, we're not there yet. If we were there, we wouldn't be here. This is the school. This is where it's at. This is where we're all learning. And we're supposed to be learning from each other. And we're supposed to be taking care of each other. And we're supposed to just be spiraling upwards together, like legit. But I don't know, people are weird. So let's get to this next part. Here it is. Hereof is the mind's mission as a moral power, and beyond are all its developments as a vast panorama of spiritual realities. There are moments when every soul realizes its own attributes and perceives something of that innate force, beauty, grandeur, which lie hidden and undeveloped within. No mortal boundaries can limit the sublime flight of the mind. It ascends high in the firmaments, contemplates the causes and laws and operations of the universe, displaying everywhere that transcendent power which renders man a little lower than angels. The principle of reason is its greatest and highest endowment. This is the indwelling light, and this, the power of understanding by which man reads in the everlasting volume of nature. Nature is the universal exponent of God, and reason is the exponent of nature. Nature and reason constitute the only true standard of judgment upon all subjects, period, point blank, according to this chapter of the Harmonial philosophy, right? So the chapter was entitled Mind as a Motive Power, right? So this is what this is mostly explaining, and the next chapter I'm pretty sure is probably going to be Mind of like moral power. Oh no, it's called Liberty and Necessity. Okay. But ultimately what this chapter is talking about, and I'm going to go back and read the footnotes so that we can get some more clarity, okay? All right, here are the first footnotes. And don't be afraid to ask questions. We're almost done reading, actually. We only got a few more minutes left, and then we can open up the forum to questions. So, you know what to do. Let me take my chug. Ugh, I love water so much. Okay. So the footnotes here talk about so the majority of this chapter was compiled from Andrew Javis Jackson's main article, or I'm sorry, main book entitled The Principles of Nature. And so what is saying here is that man considered materially, meaning as lord and master of the plant on which he dwells, is the wisdom, head and king of all animated forms, the perfection of matter. The lower forms are developed and perfected in man, for in him are the spiritual, the perfect spiritual, and the celestial forms of the particles of matter. An explanation is given of the term celestial forms, being those parts or atoms which contain, perfected in themselves, every species of form in the subordinate kingdoms, and which become receptacles of spiritual life. Okay, so now that actually gave me some clarity. So remember how I was saying that, in order to have like your whole shit together, you need to perfect nature and perfect your moral compass, right? Well, here, what the actual texts say, what the original source text is actually saying, is that we as human or mankind or human, just a human species basically, is the perfected or the highest form of elevate or evolution. That's the right word, evolution, right? And that does not mean that our expressions are perfect. It means that we carry all of the perfected lower dimensions and lower, realms and lower kingdoms within our DNA, but in their perfected form. Hence why we are now in our current state, and now we're perfecting our current state to see what the next state is, right? So this is kind of this idea of all potentialities exist within your genome, and all you have to do is just turn on certain switches or activate certain, genetic codes, or, et cetera, et cetera. So like it kind of falls into sort of those sort of quantum spiritual theories that we're hearing pop up nowadays. It matches really well. I can see now why so many people are drawn to spiritualism. It does make a lot more sense, at least in terms of the sciences, right? Because we now know that that is true. And mind you, this was in the 1800s, okay? All right, so here's the next footnote. It says there are three departments of human thought, according to Penetralia. So Penetralia is a documented speech that he had did, a public speech that he had did. So this comes from that speech. Or more correctly, there are three worlds open to the investigations of thought. One being the indefinite world, intermediately situated between finite and infinite, right? The second one is the finite world, being that of the human sciences. So that's the realm that we live in. And third, the finite, to which we feel that we are succinctively and eternally related, right? So these are the ancestors, I guess, the spirits, I guess you could say. But he's going to define it here. He says that man himself is the indefinite world, and hence all our knowledge is ourselves to know. Boom, boom, boom. Right there. You want to sum up the whole spiritualist movement? It's right there. That's the sentence right there. There it is. Just sit on that. Go ahead and sit on that. You are an indefinite world. Okay, so let's remind ourselves what that is. You are the intermediate between the finite and the infinite. Okay? And so, therefore, to move between those spaces at will is simply to tap into the knowledge that is ourself. And all of the knowledge that is to know is already reflective within ourselves. All the knowledges that there is to know, the most vast complexities of the corners of the unknown universe, we could probably find in a meditation with our mind. Like that's what it's talking about, right? Um so this is why a lot of people say that there are two types of spiritual, what would we say? Two types of ways to connect with spirit. One is a very active way, right? And that can look like a lot of different things. It could be doing like intense ritual, it could mean ceremony, it could mean uh charity work, it could mean you know, um, aesthetic practices, where they kind of like whip themselves and things like that, and all these kinds of like really extreme practices. It could look like a lot of different things, but the point of that is that it's a spirituality of action, of movement, and then you have the spirituality of contemplation. These are the people that like to sit still. These people can find God in their everyday life, right? These are people that see God in their everyday life and can interact with it physically and really have true sensory experiences with God, right? And this person believes that as well, but believes that if God is also out there, then God must also be in here, and so I want to explore that side of myself. And so there's these two kinds of approaches, and both lead to the same answer. They're just two different approaches. And what a lot of these scriptures are saying, and what a lot of these, even like scientific articles, are talking about, is really sort of this mirrored reflection of discoveries. When we discover something out here in space, simultaneously we're discovering certain things about, illnesses or cell definition or stem cells or something, like, or even smaller than that, like it's this crazy sort of chain of events that you can actively observe. It is palatable. It is right there. You can see it, touch it, taste it, and watch it. You can watch it in real life happening. Just follow certain news articles, follow certain channels. And you can just see how these things mirror each other on every scale. And so I think this is a really empowering statement because it kind of gives us this like idea of everything that there really is to know. I need not look no further. And that's such a beautiful thing because it empowers you. There's no, you can't say you don't know. You can't say you know, you just have to tap in. You just have to remember. And like that's so beautiful. That's so so beautiful. Love it. Now, here's where we get reality kicked back into us, right? Because it's not all foo-foo. All right? We're not sitting here, smoking up and shoving light up your butt. That's not what we're doing. It says here, albeit. It says, as we are at the present located, there is a limit set to the research in this direction. That goes for both the science of his time and just overall. There is a limit to this. Yes, all the answers are within us. Yes, we have all the possibilities of the infinite universe in us. Yes, we are made of the same star dust as the farthest star in the unknown. Yes, all that stuff. But your ability to actually control whether or not you can tap into that and turn certain things on and off within yourself and be able to actually engage that the way we know we can, it takes work. That's what this is. That's what this is. It's limited. And you need to be okay with that. You will not um be a bodhisattva in one lifetime. You're not the next Jesus in one lifetime. It's going to take you a minute. you know? So have patience with yourself, have grace with yourself, right? And just keep moving forward. It says here, it is explained elsewhere in the volume too that this text is drawn from, that the human mind we seen in the interly in the actual body, that is to say, when, and then it goes down here, when it is contemplated in a clairvoyant state, presents a fountain of life. Okay. And so he defines this and he talks about this, a fountain of principles and a casket of facts, right? So it's all of this is at our disposal when we go into our clairvoyant state. A fountain of life, a fountain of principles, and a casket of facts. I love how he says that. A casket of facts. Woo! Wow. All right, let's get into it. The first is the Department of Love, the second is the Department of Wisdom, and the third is the Department of Knowledge. These qualities having expressed constitutional affinities for life, principles, and facts. Love is the parental essence of the two other qualities, or elements, as Davis terms them, speaking, of course, metaphysically and not chemically. The whole nature of man, physical and mental, is not only based upon but is likewise manufactured through the department of love. Phrenologically, it occupies all the back portions of the head and is the largest of the mental organs. The department of knowledge occupies the front portions of the brain, and that of wisdom, the upper portions. Wisdom is the source of principles, knowledge, the treasury of facts, love, the fountain of all consciousness, and motive power. So ultimately, he basically defined where this motive power that this chapter was talking about, where it stems from. And ultimately it's in the mind. So that means the brain is the seat of this motive power. So again, back to the original context that we talked about earlier, brain being the barrier, or mind being the barrier, right? Between physical and spiritual, right? Okay. I've been singing a lot this week. I've been singing so much this week. My throat is killing me. And then that's it for the footnotes. Beautiful. So now we open up the floor to questions. We open up the floor to questions. How are we doing? Okay. What do we got here? I gotta scroll back, don't I? Hi, Cosmos, you're here. Hello. Catholic Mass has ceremonial magic. Word up, it does. It sure does. Cosmos, I love that you're here. Thank you for always showing your support. Let's see. Sorry if I look crazy. You love my shirt? This is my loose shirt, you guys. That's my loose shirt. Yes. That is very much from my merch store. And it matches your tattoo. That's dope. That's what's up. All right, so there's no questions, really? You guys understood? You feel good about the chapter? You feel good about what we talked about? All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, let me see. Next week, I want to say I'll probably see you guys again on Monday. I want to say that, but I'm not really sure. So so just keep an ear out, okay? But go join my email list so that you can stay up to date on what like the in scoop is all the time, okay? Go to my website, themagicalsolution.com, get yourself on my email list, and we will all catch up soon. Thank you guys so much for always supporting my channel, for stopping in, for saying hello, for listening to me read. Make sure you comment, share, subscribe, just let people know. I think it's really, really important. Information like this is always just great to just have a dialogue with people, because I don't know everything. This is just me kind of like off the cuff, talking, being myself, talking from like a place of just how I live my life in conjunction with what I'm reading in the text. And I'm just a Puerto Rican girl from New York. I was like, I'm not, you know what I mean? So, thank you so much for just always being around, you guys. And Lavetta, I know you're watching, girl. I know you're watching. Thank you so much. Always showing love. Anyway, this is The Magical Solution. My name is Leilani. This is how we grow, and thank you for watching. Have a good night, everybody.